Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are setting up a genuinely fascinating overlap between an ancient legend and our literal biological origins. We're going to be looking at the work of researcher Taras Nadtochii. Now, following his really intriguing research on the story of Moses, he's turned his analytical, scientific lens to another ancient text to reveal something absolutely incredible about human biology. So, you might be wondering, what on earth does a 3,000-year-old Greek epic have to do with microscopic human biology? Well, consider how a mythological hero's journey, specifically Homer's Odyssey, perfectly mirrors the exact rigorous biological process of human fertilization. Seriously, the structural parallels here are going to blow your mind. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the ultimate biological epic and the start of the mission. Just think about the sheer scale of this departure. Hundreds of millions. After the Trojan War, every single Greek warrior began the perilous journey home. And in our biological epic, during ejaculation, hundreds of millions of sperm cells begin this massive race simultaneously. It's a monumental departure with one singular goal. But as we'll see, the odds of actually succeeding are staggeringly low. Now, every great journey needs an unwavering destination, right? For Odysseus, it's Penelope, his faithful queen, waiting on the island of Ithaca. She's essentially the center of gravity in the epic. And her biological equivalent? That's the ovum, or the egg cell. It maintains its integrity, it doesn't pursue the traveler at all, it simply waits. It is the definitive ultimate goal that gives the entire microscopic journey its meaning. Moving right along to Section 2, Natural Selection and Barriers, looking specifically at hostile environments. If you know the myth, you know Poseidon's relentless wrath is constantly attacking Odysseus at sea. And the biological reality here? It's the female reproductive tract. This environment is definitely not some passive swimming pool. It is fiercely hostile, filled with acidic vaginal conditions, thick cervical mucus, and highly aggressive immune defenses. Poseidon perfectly symbolizes these intense environmental selection pressures. Pressures that mercilessly eliminate the vast majority of competing cells right at the very start. So, how did the survivors actually adapt to this? In the myth, Odysseus gets trapped by Polyphemus the Cyclops, a literal deadly dead end. He survives it not by brute strength, but by clever strategy, hiding beneath the sheep. Biologically, this mirrors exactly how sperm cells have to navigate initial anatomical barriers. Success demands biological strategy, like utilizing natural currents within the reproductive tract, rather than just expending limited, precious energy swimming harder. Which brings us to Section 3, Navigating the Reproductive Tract, Maturation and Signals. This introduces us to a totally vital biological concept known as capacitation. This is the biochemical maturation process that actually prepares the sperm for fertilization. In the epic, Odysseus spends an entire year on the island of the sorceress Circe. She filters out the weak, while the strong remain to undergo intense preparation. Once biological capacitation happens, it's a true point of no return. That cell's destiny is now either immediate fertilization or death. Of course, this journey is absolutely fraught with false leads. You've got the Sirens song representing these irresistible, destructive temptations, which perfectly mirrors misleading chemical cues in the reproductive tract. Just as the Sirens try to lure sailors to crash and die on the rocks, false chemical signals can divert a sperm cell straight into a dead end. Survival requires staying rigidly on the correct biological course. But thankfully, there is also true guidance in the form of chemotactic. This is a chemical guidance system where signals released by the reproductive tract and the egg help actually direct the sperm toward their destination. In our myth, this is the goddess Athena. She repeatedly guides Odysseus without actually doing the hard work for him. Chemotactic massively improves the gamete's chances of success, but it certainly doesn't guarantee it. And when you look at it chronologically, the parallels are literally exact. Step 1, ejaculation, is the epic departure. Step 2, the cervical passage, crosses the initial threshold, surviving Poseidon and the Cyclops. Step 3, capacitation, is the crucial transformation on Circe's island. And Step 4, final penetration, is the ultimate climax. These biological steps perfectly overlay with the narrative beats. All right, Section 4, penetrating the final defenses, the climax of the race. We finally reached the singular biological goal, the zona pellucida. This is the impenetrable, protective outer shell of the egg cell. In Homer's Odyssey, when the hero finally reaches Ithaca, he's faced with stringing his old, stiff bow, a weapon that the competing suitors just cannot bend.
Only the true master, fully mature and competent, can string that bow, perfectly symbolizing a fully capacitated sperm cell successfully breaching this incredibly tough biological shell.
Now just consider the insane precision required for this climax. Odysseus doesn't just string the bow, he shoots an arrow cleanly through the small rings of 12 aligned axes. Biologically, fertilization is not just some blind, lucky collision. It requires an exceptionally precise sequence of molecular interactions. It's a flawless, microscopic trajectory where even the slightest error prevents success. The very millisecond success is achieved, a massive, immediate biological shift occurs, called the cortical reaction. This process permanently blocks any additional sperm from entering the egg. In the epic, the exact moment Odysseus reveals himself and shoots the arrow, the palace doors are suddenly locked shut, and the arrogant, competing suitors are violently eliminated. The locking of those doors acts exactly like this immediate biological lockdown, preventing a fatal condition called polyspermy. Leading us right into Section 5, Union and New Life, the fusion of DNA. In the myth, Odysseus and Penelope finally reunite in their immovable marriage bed, which is famously carved directly into the living roots of an ancient olive tree. Biologically, this represents syngamy, the successful fusion of maternal and paternal DNA. Just as that deeply rooted bed represents permanence and continuity, the fusion of these nuclei marks the birth of a brand new, completely unique genetic identity. The epic cycle is officially closed. And finally, Section 6, the evolution of storytelling and why we actually tell this tale. Let's summarize this incredible overlap. Poseidon mirrors environmental selection. Circe is capacitation. Ithaca is the egg cell. The suitors are the competing sperm. Now, the larger scientific point here is that Homer didn't secretly have a microscope. These structural parallels exist because human beings inherently organize experience in very specific ways. They brilliantly bridge the gap between mythology and evolutionary biology. So, why on earth do we tell stories this way? Well, the evolutionary psychologist's view is that we naturally construct narratives around survival, competition, and adaptation, because doing so genuinely improved our ancestors' chances of surviving. Stories that encoded persistence, danger recognition, and reproductive success were quite literally passed down because the humans who listened to and learned from them actually survived long enough to reproduce. And this brings us to a genuinely beautiful realization. Nature itself produces stories. The whole process of fertilization is filled with intense competition, extreme selection, transformative trials, and ultimate regeneration. Evolutionary biology is the hidden natural architect behind our greatest myths. We aren't just making these stories up out of thin air. We are directly reflecting the foundational grammar of biological life itself. There's this great thought that, whether consciously or unconsciously, humans repeatedly organize experience around journeys towards survival and renewal. This deep narrative architecture utterly transcends both science and art. It truly defines the core of the human experience, spanning all the way from the legendary heroes of ancient campfires right down to the very microscopic cells that build us. Which really leaves us with one final, provocative question to ponder today. If our very biology dictates the stories we tell, what hidden natural blueprints are shaping the narratives you consume today? Once you see the patterns of natural selection in human storytelling, you honestly can't unsee them. It makes you wonder how your own cognitive wiring is interpreting the world around you right now. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope you keep questioning the deeper biological structures of the stories you love.